Hi, this video is a video about my perspective on the transition of moving from traditional indigenous communities or smaller communities, and the transition to modern economies and the value systems that go with modern economies and the thinking that goes within those value systems. So it's something that I had been thinking about and writing about for some time, reading about also, and I wanted to make a video so that I could put down all the things that I was thinking about it and my perspective on it, because there's always going to be a lot of perspectives and there's always a lot of commentary as well, because there are a lot of social scientists, researchers with their own knowledge as well that they add to the body of knowledge on the issue, and it's all important. So this is my perspective, which I'm going to be uploading on YouTube. So the reason why I started thinking about these things is because from a child I used to observe my father and the way that he was, and I noticed, because it used to cause me some confusion. My dad, he was wealthy and he had a PhD, and before he had that doctorate in philosophy, he had the master's, and then he had the undergraduate degree. So he's been studying for some years, and so that includes all the books he would be reading and the literature, the people he met while he was studying, people who supervised his thesis, and so he's well educated and he's traveled the world. But he had this problem that later on it looked like addiction to alcohol, that was affecting his moods, affecting his relationship with us, some other family members. And so and I used to wonder about him a lot. What's wrong with him? Why is he like this? And it included violence. Sometimes he was violent, very violent, but other times he seemed like he was a nice person. He had a big heart. He was generous, of generous spirit, generous to others, shared what he had with others, his money, his time, his resources. And I used to wonder growing up, why is he like this? And anyway, after some time and my own journey in education and travel, and also the books I also read, so I realized that my dad was living in two worlds. So in the one world was the indigenous world, the small community, the village community, the village setting that has its customs within it and the value systems that go within living in smaller communities and smaller communal type living, right, where the doors are always open and you can go and borrow sugar from next door. Smaller communities, and for indigenous societies, different cultures, different ways of viewing the world, different ways, different value systems, and the thinking that goes within those value systems. So that was one world that he lived in Fiji. And then on the other side, where he was doing very well and successful and traveling the world, and he at certain times in his life he lived around the world for more than a year, living in different countries apart from work. And my mother had a similar experience as well. And then that was one factor. The second factor was that he was the first generation, part of the first generation to live in a modern nation, so a new nation, so a newly established nation following the imperial periods in history and colonial periods. So for Fiji, Britain was in Fiji, and we became independent, a new nation in 1970. So my father is the first part of the first generation to live in a modern economy. Yeah. So in between that space is the adaptation space, and where I started to realize where the conflict was taking place. And the conflict was internal. It was his internal conflict of trying to live in two worlds. The confusion, the loyalty to each world, the value systems and the clash in value systems, trying to do well in both worlds, trying to maintain a strong identity in both worlds. So that was the another factor that's related was that identity, the intergenerational identity. So if I used gender language, which is social science language, let's say, he was living in intersectionality between these two worlds. And additionally, because his dad died when he was 3 years old, he was raised by a single mom, and then spent a lot of time with his uncle, Sam Marriott, who's white, his mom's brother, and wealthy. And my dad spent a lot of time growing up with that uncle and his children at their home farm. And so those are the things that are going on. But when I was thinking about his alcoholism, I realized what really was the main focus here was the duality, the difficulty of living in duality, the double identities, living in two worlds, the value systems required by the two different worlds, balancing that. And because in the years that I've been reading about the Maori youth. If you've watched Once Were Warriors, that movie came out around about 1994. So it's about Maori society in New Zealand, and then problems also with violence and alcohol, but overuse of alcohol, right? So I had read about these things as a young girl, and I was wondering about it, for many years. And then a lot of the indigenous cultures, this issue of alcohol and related issues to do with, if it's youth, juvenile delinquency, problems with the law, and those related issues that go on to affect health and community, it's quite prevalent in indigenous cultures. And I was that's why I used to wonder a lot about it, because my father was wealthy and educated. He has status, and culturally in the indigenous community, and also amongst his peers professionally. So he had everything in the world going for him, but he still struggled. He was battling this alcohol addiction, and it was causing problems for him, not just within the family, but with his health as well. So that's why I made this video, because I think because it's prevalent, and I know it's probably a topic some people might be interested in if I shared it on YouTube. Another factor I wanted to mention was the intergenerational identity and how that can be passed on unconsciously, and that also affects that factor between living in two worlds, where the world is transitioning to more modern economies all the time, and communities and the people in it having to adapt and going through the adaptation phases. For me, I was fortunate. I was fortunate because my parents absorbed that a lot of the brunt of the rapid social changes that were happening. So by the time I'm born in a hospital, I'm born in the city, I'm playing with toys and Lego included that was brought from Europe. By the time I was 5, I was riding in the big jets and living in the big cities, and getting an education and having access to books for my entire life. So from very little, and it was a privilege, I knew, but I also still went through that, the experience of the difficulties also of living within the adaptation phases to these modern economies, value systems, globalization, because my dad went through it and my mom, so it's passed on to me. Their let's say there's still state of unsettlement about that, because my dad had his own profession, so he's not going to be studying this. It doesn't mean that I'm cleverer than anybody or everybody because I know this. It's just that it's something that I observed from very little because my dad was like that, and I always wondered why, and that's because I'm born already in this world, in the modern economy, and a different state of development that I had grown up in, and including going to different countries around the world, and the education that gave me. So education was not just taking place within classroom. Education, my life was also educating me and informing me, apart from the media, of course. And that's why I thought, yes, the media has played an important role also, apart from the books, in what I know about other cultures and ways of seeing the world and ways of understanding people who are different from me, and including my dad. So it wasn't just about the traditional indigenous societies and communities of the South, so, and the globalized West, globalized developed West, because being someone who's I've been singing also since I was little. I loved music and songs, so from very little, if I hear a song I like, I'll try and record it and I'll write down the lyrics to learn the song. So I've done that all of my life as well. And so 2 of the songs that I had taken note of to include in this video was a song by Jelly Roll, which is called Son of a Sinner. And Jelly Roll is this song. It's I think it just came out 2 to 3 years ago. So Son of a Sinner. So Jelly Roll in that song is talking about his dad who had a problem with alcohol, and he's singing about it because he also went through the same thing, the problem with alcohol. And so that was one song, and the other song was Tracy Chapman's song. So Tracy Chapman is black and female. Jelly Roll is white and male. And her song Fast Car came out in the 1990s, and she was also sing about the same thing. Fast Car, the song is about her dad who's got a drinking problem, and she had to quit school to look after him. And these are some this is their commentary on social life, right? And I said, yeah, it's not an issue that is only that only pertains to indigenous cultures who are trying to keep up with the pace of modernity, globalization. It was also because what they had in common, Jelly Roll and Tracy Chapman, even though the songs were recorded almost 30 years apart, was that they're coming from smaller towns. So from smaller towns, smaller communities, and then they'd be going through the same the adaptation phases that's going on in their communities and their states, and yeah, so and that's still dualistic living, and living in two worlds. Because what I realized, the more I thought about it, and the notes that I was making, it wasn't just about like the physical state of knowing how to use a computer and being up to date with IT, and having a lot of money to buy the things that we need now to make our life easier. It wasn't just about that. It was about internalizing new values, and internalizing new values that would make you be able to navigate your way a little easier in modern economies and the value systems of modern economies. So and I think that is a generational thing. So if I use my dad as an example, and then me. So with me, I have an easier time. I can navigate my way a bit easier than, say, maybe one of my cousins who still lives in the village today. So that's a basic example that I can give. And so in that space between, say, indigenous cultures / smaller communities, and then that modern economies value system, the adaptation, transitioning phases in between, it takes time. So it might take 2 generations or more. And so that was a factor that I wanted to mention in this video. That was my perspective on some of these issues, like that we see, like if I just take the struggles and the battles with alcohol as an example. So to make a further point on that, so internalizing new values, it's not it doesn't rely on a lot of money, say. It's the values that you realize that the modern economy is aligned to. So I won't, because I wasn't born in a village, nor grew up in a village, or stayed say my whole life in one country. So because of that, I understand there's more ways to be. And that has been it's been an advantage, and it's been able to benefit me. Um, yeah, so these are some issues that I wanted to bring up because I think it's relevant, um, and it's something a lot of people write about, and it's not new information. I am only making this video and putting it in this way because I haven't read it said like this. So that's why I'm doing this, and contributing to perspectives on some of the social issues I know that we face today. And the thing with intergenerational identity, it's something that a lot of the diaspora communities discuss without knowing the term intergenerational contexts. And I'm fortunate to know this because I've studied sociology, anthropology, and gender, and that includes, so gender isn't just about the shaping of masculinity and femininity. It's more than that. It's about colonization and actually the shaping of identities culturally as well, and discusses the different textures of complexity that make us us. It also is the thing with intergenerational identity. I know someone, and I can't mention his name because I won't mention his name, but he used to say things like, I used to get hit all the time. My dad used to hit me all the time, punch me up, hit me, and I'm fine. So I did to my son too. I punched my son up too. I hit him too. If I don't like what he's doing, I'll punch him up, I'll hit him, because I turned out all right. And I said, yeah, that might be so, but that's where I think identity that's passed down to us can be problematic. So because what I said to him, that's besides the point. What happened in their time was they did that with the knowledge they had at the time. So your dad might have been hitting you because his dad hit him, and his dad before him might have come from the time of the colonizing time, the times in history that is our shared history all over the world, where there's been world wars, there've been civil wars, there've been tribal wars, there've been there's violence in our shared history and of human development. And I don't think it's anything to judge any particular place by or people, but it's more to understand that now with what we know, we can use it to to sort of have inform better experiences. I don't know about other people, but I still remember what it's like to be a child, to be hit, and it's not something that I would want my children to feel the same emotions. So it's not about that I'm better than my dad. It's just about, if I can spare them that emotion, I will, and just that natural wanting to just improve as we go along. And I guess that's why I'm sharing these videos, because I do have my blog that I write, because I really like to encourage, especially women and those who care for children to enjoy reading. But I wanted to make the video so people could get a sense of me and see me explaining things, and it might open up, hopefully later stage, some discussion, space for discussion. People might want to get in touch with me to discuss these things further, or just have a chat. Yeah, so I hope you find it interesting, and yeah, please do get in touch if you want to discuss these issues or be part of a discussion about it. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.